Hello, and welcome to the Saturday, March 19th meeting of TV Toastmasters. We'd like to thank you for looking in at home, and we ask you to come join us sometime. Check out our club. You can find out more about our club on tvtoastmasters.com. I'd like to thank our guest in the audience today, Larissa Goebel, for joining us, and also welcome our newest member, Vicki Hart. Round of applause. We have a great meeting in store for you, and I'd now like to turn it over to the Toastmaster for today, Gwendolyn Neeson.
Good morning, and thank you, Madam President. Michelle Lewis is our club president, and she also has a competent communicator and competent leader title. So I am privileged to be your Toastmaster of the day, and I hope that each of you feel welcome and leave this meeting feeling energized and would like to become a member. So once again, we'd like to welcome Larissa Goebel, and we're excited to have Vicki Hart as a new member. Our club mission is to provide supportive and positive learning experience in which members are empowered to develop communication and leadership skills, resulting in greater self-confidence and personal growth. Personally, this is the reason why I joined Toastmasters, was to help with my confidence levels, and I think it's improving meeting by meeting. Toastmasters can help you find your voice, to speak up in meetings, to have better communication with your friends and family and coworkers, even with your boss. Our program is divided into 3 parts. The first part is the impromptu speaking. We learn to think quickly on our feet and respond to surprise questions in an effective manner. The second part will be presentations. We have 2 prepared speeches today. One by myself, Climb That Mountain, and the second by Steve and Aaron Holtz, our distinguished Toastmaster. His is hand washing. Looking forward to getting all fresh and clean, hearing from him. Our third part of the meeting is the evaluation section. Here is where each speaker receives immediate feedback on their strengths and areas where we can each improve. We begin the impromptu portion of our meeting with the word of the day. Rick Barron will help us increase our vocabulary. Rick Barron has an advanced, oh, I thought it was Rick. I apologize. Michelle Lewis is going to give us the word of the day. Michelle, welcome, Michelle Lewis.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster. In honor of the madness that is occurring here in March, the word of the day is going to be rebound. For those basketball fanatics, you know what I mean, March Madness. A rebound is to catch the ball after a shot has missed going into the basket, but it also is a verb that means to bounce back through the air after hitting a hard object or surface, or to recover in value, amount, or strength after a previous decrease or decline. So I encourage you to use the word of the day as you speak today. I'm also going to be acting as grammarian. And as a grammarian, my job or my duty is to keep track of the use of crutch words, misuses of the English language, uses of the word of the day, and then also catchy or positive uses of language. And I will be reporting at the end of the day your grammarian report. Madam Toastmaster?
Thank you very much, Michelle, for that word of the day, rebound. Hopefully I can rebound as Toastmaster this morning. And let's see here. Each of us is challenged to increase our vocabulary immediately by using rebound when we come up here to the lectern. Our president, Michelle Lewis, as she said, will be counting how many times each of us use the word of the day, rebound. The Toastmasters program has a tradition. Every member speaks at our meetings. The table topics portion of the meeting ensures this tradition. Table topics gives us the opportunity to learn to listen intently, think, and give an effective reply in just 1 to 2 minutes. Our timer, Emily Garrett, our Sergeant of Arms and Advanced Communicator Gold and Advanced Leader Bronze, will signal the green light when a minute is reached, yellow at 1.5 minutes to wrap it up, and red will tell you to stop talking. To challenge us today, our topics master will be our very magnetic speaker, Rick Barron. Let us welcome Rick.
Thank you, Gwendolyn. Check your calendar, and you realize that it's only a couple of days before the start of spring. Yet, what we discovered outside was the threat of a return to winter, with a forecast included snow. And I got to start thinking about transitions and how sometimes these transitions are just not things that even we want to make. So I was wondering, Carol, was there a transition in your life that you were forced to make but didn't want to make?
Thank you for that question on how I rebounded from a transition that I wasn't wanting to make. I have experienced 2 accidents in 2 days, on Valentine's Day and the next day. I slid down, coming down a hill. I tried to stop before the bottom of the hill, and I wasn't quite stopped, and I tried to make the right turn onto the road anyway, and slid right over into the oncoming traffic, flattened that guy's tire, bent his rim. He thought I also broke his axle. I'm not sure if I did or not. And we were 3 hours waiting for the police to come, and it was the wrong jurisdiction because it was in Loveland, but that wasn't the jurisdiction that was on up, and so we had to wait for the Hamilton Township, Butler County police to arrive, wait for the wreckers because it was a bad snowy day and there were wrecks all over. And after that 3 hours, I'm going, oh, and she said, well, there's not enough room between, the policewoman said, there's not enough room between your fender and the tire for you to safely drive this away. And I'm glad because the roads were all slippery and I would have been petrified. But so I rebound from that and get a rental car the next day. And I'm coming out of Maggiano's restaurant up in Kenwood on Montgomery Road, and I'd passed the 71 South entrance, past the 71 North exit, and here comes a guy zipping across the road, hit the front of my car on the driver's side, bashed in his door, broke his glass, and he said, well, you're not hurt and I'm not hurt, and our cars are dry, well, we don't need to call the police, and stupid me said, okay, because I didn't want to go through another 3 hours waiting for police reports and everything, and it was raining. So I rebounded and telling my niece the next day, she said, you better get down and report that because he could claim anything. Now, he was trying to pull into the gas station and I ran into him. Well, but everybody knows if he was going south, he was turning too soon. And she said he could change his story. So I rebounded, went to the police station, gave the report, and I found out that triggered 6 ambulance chasing attorneys to send me a note. We will take your case and I'll charge you 25% of what we get for you. So I have had to rebound, and that whole week it was all phone calls for wreckers and getting my car fixed and getting a rental car and all 4 days of phone calls. So I have rebounded, and I haven't quite rebounded all the way back to normal because every day something else happens. My rental car is only good for 30, my insurance pays for 30 days. I'll have an extra week, so it's $179 out of my pocket. So I keep having to rebound, so that was a good word of the day, and trying to rebound and get back to my normal zippy and zesty self. Mr. Toastmaster, Table Topics Master.
Hi, Carol. Time usually provides the best perspective. And as we go through a transition, we often get a chance to look backward and go, you know what? That transition wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. Vicki, was there a transition that you've ever had that on the surface looked terrible, but in retrospect turned out to be awesome?
Thank you, Rick. Actually, yes, there was a transition in my life that I was dreading. It was the empty nest part of my life. And I thought, what am I going to do when it's just my husband and I again? And how are we going to handle this? Well, it happened, and lo and behold, as I look back now, I think that was the greatest thing ever. And now I have my kids, my grandchildren, but they're not there full time, and I can enjoy them and I can send them home. So yes, that was a transition in my life that turned out for good.
Thank you, Vicki. It's often difficult to rebound back when something sets you back. And sometimes that process, in and of itself, provides some significant growth. Ms. Garrett, have you ever had a growth experience through a transition?
Thank you. I'd have to say that I have a growth experience from every transition in my life. I think that, I guess back in 2003, when my husband and I parted ways, that was a great transition for me. I suddenly felt a little out there as far as only having an associate degree and really having to depend on myself. And so I went back to school and I got my bachelor's degree and then I got my master's degree and then I got a much better job and sent my kids off to college. And it's just been a wonderful growth period for me. Since I've gotten my newer job, which I've been there 8 years, I joined Toastmasters. I've been in Toastmasters for I guess it's almost 8 years, 7.5. And I've really looked forward to new and different things, which I never did before. I really had sort of stayed in my boundaries before that. And so every transition takes me somewhere great.
Thank you, Emily. I now transition the meeting back to our Toastmaster, Gwendolyn Neeson.
Rick, he is always quick on his feet and encouraging. He gives us some great words, and it's a good table topics. So thank you for everybody who participated there. We now move to the prepared speaking part of the program, and we will start with none other than myself with Climb That Mountain. So Ms. Garrett, if you will continue to do your role in our meeting at the time, we appreciate it. So, yo lady who... Have you ever climbed a mountain? I'm not talking about the little hills that we climb every day, like the one that our wonderful Carol Cormelick told us about, the hill that she went down. I'm talking about those mountains that are so big, so enormous, like Mount Everest type. A situation that feels too big. You don't even think it's possible that you can climb it. I'm here to tell you that you can. Not only can you climb that mountain, you are able to remove that mountain. I want you to go from saying, I can't do that, to climbing the top of that mountain, being on that peak and saying, yo lady who, I conquered it. There's steps that you have to take. The first thing you would want to do is to quiet yourself and be calm. To study your challenges. To look at what's laying ahead of you. To really understand and gather as much information and knowledge as you can about the situation. We have Google now where you can search anything. Look up books. Find people that have gone through the same thing that you're facing right now. Find out how they succeeded. One of the things that the most successful people do is they take huge problems, huge situations, and break them down into very small, itty-bitty, tiny, manageable pieces. This is what, like I said, what every successful person does. They take it one step at a time. We just heard Ms. Garrett tell us about her earning a college degree. That didn't happen overnight. She had to do class by class, test by test, until finally she earned her bachelor's degree and then her master's degree. Before she did that, she was probably looking at the challenge ahead of her. Where am I going to go? I only have an associate's degree. And now she's working at a job that she loves and doing very well, and is one of our active members here at Toastmasters. Ever build a house? Not overnight. Brick by brick, step by step. Until one day you're driving by and it seems almost that the house is building itself. It gets done so quickly. The hardest part is beginning. See the beauty in the mountain. Recognize that there is something positive that's going on right now. You are learning a lesson. Find that lesson. Appreciate the magnitude of the mountain. Don't deny it. It's there. Take that small step. You ever looked at mountain goats or antelopes? They climb steep cliffs and mountains, seemingly without any problem, with just ease and grace. Serious agility like you've never noticed, like you could never imagine your own self doing, except that you can do that. If those mountain goats stayed at the base of the mountain, there would be lions that can attack them, all kinds of predators. When they're at the top of the mountain, every single one of their predators are beneath them. They find themselves safe and free from everything that can harm them. And guess who gets to enjoy the best view? What if you looked at your mountain in front of you right now as a path to safety, freedom from fear? At the top of the mountain, your reality changes. You have a new, fresh perspective. If you are facing an obstacle in your life right now that seems like an insurmountable mountain, remember these simple, easy, small steps. Quiet yourself. Understand what's lying ahead of you. Take a step. Any small step. You cannot stay still. You must move forward. One small step will add to another small step. Find and learn and embrace what the situation is. Be positive. Before you know it, you will be climbing, jumping, and scaling any size mountain with ease, just like a mountain goat with hood feet. Or better yet, you can say to that mountain, "You be removed." That is the end of my mountain speech. We will now take a 1-minute break. We'll be right back. All right. Our second speaker has been a Toastmaster since 1993. He is a distinguished Toastmaster, which means he has reached the highest level of educational achievement. Let's welcome Steve Ehrenholtz on hand washing. Steve Ehrenholtz, let's give a warm welcome.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster. Fellow Toastmasters, our guests looking in from home, and our guest here this morning. Hand washing. You probably think, oh, boy, is that a dynamic topic that he's chosen to talk about. Do you take hand washing for granted? You shouldn't. A recent study of people using public restrooms showed that only 31% of men and 65% of women wash their hands after using a public restroom.
Scary.
Yeah, think about that when you're out somewhere and people are going up to the buffet. Another little fact that I find rather interesting, and for those of you who want something that you can gross people out as a little fact, 1 gram of poop, which is about the weight of a paperclip, is estimated to contain 1 trillion bacteria. Kind of makes you wonder, so who's at a disadvantage here? Actually, hand washing is only about 150 years old, a little bit more. Wasn't always widely recognized as a good health practice. It was one of these things that really became recognized, and it wasn't something that went smoothly when it was introduced. A Hungarian obstetrician named Ignaz Semmelweis had been involved with delivery, maternity and delivery hospitals in his native country, and it came to his attention that there were 2 hospitals where women were giving childbirth, would go to deliver their children. One of them was staffed by medical students and doctors. The other was staffed by midwives. All the women in town preferred to go to the one that was staffed by the midwives because the medical students would come from their anatomy classes working on cadavers and then deliver the newborns. And the death rate from infection was so much higher in that hospital versus the one that was staffed by midwives delivering newborns. Of course, the medical establishment did not look kindly on his ideas about hand washing and that all medical students had to wash their hands thoroughly before going to the hospital to deliver babies. Rather tumultuous. I mean, not well received, which is kind of amazing when we think about it. This actually occurred 25 years before Louis Pasteur developed the germ theory. So don't take hand washing for granted. Well, what's the best way to wash your hands? There are some simple steps that you take to wash your hands. And what you want to do is wet your hands with running water. It doesn't have to be one or the other, it can be warm or cold. Apply your soap and you rub your hands thoroughly, making sure that you rub the palms, do your thumbs, get your fingernails, all of that, and you do it for 20 seconds at least. So how do you know what 20 seconds is? Well, you can sing happy birthday twice, go through the alphabet twice. The splash and dash is not effective. People who just turn on the faucet and kind of get their hands near the water and run. Yeah, scrub your hands for 20 seconds. Rinse your hands well under clean running water and then dry them with a clean towel or air dry them. Now, we see one of the other things nowadays, sometimes referred to as ABHR. When I first saw that acronym, I thought, what is ABHR? It's alcohol-based hand rub, and we see these in a lot of places. There are some limitations with that. First of all, it's not really effective against hands that are visibly soiled. So if you have dirt visible on your hands, the alcohol-based hand rub is not that effective on that. If your hands are pretty clean otherwise, you can use that to disinfect your hands. And the way that you want to do it is you put about a quarter size amount of the material on your hands, and then you rub your hands together, do the back sides, and you keep rubbing until it's dry. You generally want to have an alcohol-based hand rub that's about 62%, 60% alcohol. The less than that's not really as effective. And you let your hands dry. I'll tell you, if you have hands that crack in winter like I do, you also know where all the cracks are, because it does sting. For regular hand washing, we have both the antibacterial and regular soap. General thinking these days is that regular soap is probably your best bet, because it's a combination of the friction, the water, the soap, the time, the contact time to get your hands clean. My personal feeling is that I don't buy antibacterial soaps anymore because, yeah, they might be effective against 99.9% of the bacteria. So that means that 0.1% that you've left, those are the really nasty ones. And I don't want to select for those alone. What I'd like to leave you with today is that hand washing is important, and it is something that I think we often take for granted, but we shouldn't, because it's not necessarily as widely practiced as we would like to think it is. Hand washing is one of the best ways to avoid getting sick and spreading illness to others. Reduced illness increases productivity because you spend less time in the doctor's office and more time at work and school. Plus, we also need to lead by example, so that means that kids see that it's important to do too, and to do it properly. Madam Toastmaster. I just used hand rub.
Oh, be careful of whose hands I touch now. Thank you very much, Steve, for that interesting speech on hand washing. We learn something new every time we come to a Toastmasters meeting. We will take a minute break. We are now at our evaluation section of our meeting, led by the general evaluator, who will call for reports from the speech evaluators, timer, and grammarian. Our general evaluator today is our talented, gifted, 4-time distinguished Toastmaster, Carol Cormalick. Let us welcome the amazing Carol Cormalick.
Thank you very much, Madam Toastmaster. What makes Toastmasters far superior to going and paying thousands of dollars for a fantastic seminar on communication? It's because we get immediate feedback on what we did well, what we can do better, and what our strengths are. And this Toastmasters is a place where you can fail your way to success. This is the practice field for the playing field of life. We now come to the part where we give that feedback of all of our speakers today. And our first evaluator is Rick Barron, who will be evaluating Gwendolyn's Climb That Mountain speech. Let us welcome Rick Barron, Advanced Communicator Gold, and Advanced Leader Bronze.
Hi, Carol. Climb every mountain. You don't want me to sing the whole thing, do you? No, I didn't think so. Great. Gwendolyn, what an awesome speech. Coming in to talk to Toastmasters about how no barrier is too big, no mountain is too large, and how that we have it within us to essentially achieve everything it is that we want to achieve. That's why we're all here. But sometimes we need a reminder of that. You are speaking out of the Competent Communication Manual, the second project on organizing your speech, with the focus of sharing a clearly defined goal, which you did very appropriately, and doing so in a manner that helped us intellectually understand where you started, where you were going, and how you were going to get there. couple of things that I want to tell you that I enjoyed about the speech. Number one was you had great facial expressions as you went through the whole thing. Watch the video and you'll get to see how animated your face was as you were doing this, which helped draw us into the topic and help us feel passionate about something that maybe is not typically a topic you get passionate about. In addition, good vocal variety as you were up here. Things that were so enormous, as one of the things that you had said during your speech. And as you were going through the speech as well, you be removed. I think that's what my note says. Yeah. Suggestion when you do this speech again. You started off by numbering the topics in the body. You said, number one, quiet yourself. And then you gave us a bunch of ideas and thoughts. I kept waiting for number two, and then waiting for number three. And then as you summed up, you summarized by telling us, hey, quiet yourself, understand what's ahead, and number three, take a step. And I'm like, did I miss those through the process? I didn't hear them through the body of the speech. So as I was listening for 1, 2, and 3, all great content that you had in there. But I got a little lost waiting for the numbers to help me kind of outline the speech. And then you did a great job in the conclusion of summarizing those points and then making a very impactful statement at the end that essentially says, we can do this. We can do anything that we've got in front of us, that the view from the top of the mountain is better, that all our enemies lay down below us. And guess what? We got a bunch of rocks now to throw down on top of them as well. For the second speech out of the Competent Communication Manual, 2 thumbs up. You are on the fast track to rebound from your thought that you said, I need confidence to be able to go out there and make an impact in the world. What we're seeing is you're a quick learner. General evaluator.
Thank you for that awesome evaluation. That was great. We now come to our next evaluator, who is Michelle Lewis, who will be evaluating Steve's speech. And Michelle is an Advanced Communicator Bronze and Advanced Leader Bronze. Let us welcome Michelle Lewis.
Thank you, Madam General Evaluator. And Steve, well, you accomplished it. You took a pretty lame topic and made it really dynamic. So awesome job there. I really actually liked your opening where you emphasized hand washing. How can it be that exciting? But you gave us a lot of insight today, a lot of information I didn't know about hand washing. So your objective today was to use vocal variety, use voice, volume, pitch, rate, and quality to reflect and add meaning and interest to your message, to use pauses to enhance your message, and to use vocal variety smoothly and naturally. And you definitely accomplished that. You had a very clear opening, body, and closing. I love that you incorporated statistics, scary statistics, because it makes me wonder if that's the public restroom statistic. What's the statistic at home, right? So pretty startling statistic, and you allowed us all to take it in. You gave us an interesting statistic about poop. And I think, but you added humor in a way that made us all laugh and chuckle, but it's pretty startling. You used some great words. The word tumultuous, I really like that word. You also had a great message. Don't take it for granted. It's such a simple, we look at it as a simple thing we learn as kids, but it's not that simple. And as you compared it to the emphasis around global warming, but people aren't even doing things. We're worried about that, but we're not worried about the simple spreading of diseases through hand washing. I think you used great pauses, you used great vocal variety. It was really challenging for me to find some things that you could have done better. You rebounded quickly from Carol putting you on the agenda on Thursday. And honestly, you look like it's a topic you working for the Center of Disease Control that you know very well. The only thing I could potentially think of, and that's like digging deep, was maybe add a personal story about it. But I really like that you gave us the history of hand washing, how it came about, that it's not that old, and then also the steps of making sure you're doing it appropriately. I've heard this, the ABCs before and the happy birthday, and I like the reference to the splash and dash because I see a lot of people do that. And it's going to make me start thinking about that the next time I'm in a public restroom. And I agreed that you used a lot of great movement because you showed us clearly how we should be hand washing, getting under the fingernails, and so forth. So honestly, the only thing I could think of was adding a personal story. I really enjoyed your speech as always and look forward to your next one. Thank you.
Thank you for that enthusiastic evaluation. You always find something great. Our next report of the day will be from our grammarian, Michelle, that you could have just stayed up here and brought your report with you. And she will be evaluating our use of grammar and our word of the day, how we rebounded.
I think it's very difficult to be the grammarian because as Emily does, gets into the speeches with timing, the same thing as with grammar and grammarian. It's hard to pick up on things when everybody has such dynamic speeches. And so as the Toastmaster, Gwendolyn, I picked up on an and a so, and used the word rebound at least twice, probably more, but that's what I picked up on. The table topics, Rick, you used the word of the day once. And one of the things that you said that I'm not sure if it's improper use, but it sounded funny to me, you said I got to start thinking instead of I started thinking. So that might have been an improper use of the language. Carol, for your table topic, you used the word of the day 9 times. Oh. And you kept using it, so you had me laughing because you kept using the word rebound and rebounded. I picked up on an and a so. For Vicki, I picked up on an and maybe 4 or 5 ums, but you're doing a great job coming up here, and I know you're going to continue to improve on using the word Emily, I picked up on a during your table topics. Gwendolyn, beautiful, nothing during your speech that I picked up on, so you did a great job today, really dynamic speech, and if you did do some improper uses, I was so into your speech, and I didn't pick up on any of them. Steve, you had one long so. That's Steve's favorite transition word, so. But other than that, great use of the English language today. I didn't pick up on a rebound for either of you. I'm not sure if you incorporated it into your speech or not. Carol, general evaluator, I haven't picked up on anything. Rick, you used the word rebound in your evaluation today, and I think I used the word rebound once at some point, but I'm just going to give myself credit for that. And other than that, let's turn it back over.
Thank you so very much. I'll save my comments till my grammarian, my general evaluator wrap-up. My next report is the timer report, and let's hear how Emily did.
Thank you, Carol. Since my years in Toastmasters, I've understood that every little thing we do in Toastmasters has a purpose. From shaking hands to clapping to evaluating, it all has a purpose. And timing is not my best thing. I'm not a good timer. I haven't spent a lot of time as timer. When I first joined the club, I was timer, hoping not to get called on for table topics. But once I got past that, I totally get engrossed in what people are saying, and sometimes I forget to hit start. And my theory in life is if you're not that good at something, then you probably need to do it more to get better at it. So I'm going to try to be timer more to see. Sorry, folks, but I'm going to try to improve on that. Our first speaker, Gwendolyn, had a time allowed of 5 to 7 minutes for her speech and took 5 minutes and 30 seconds. So right within range. Very good. Steve's speech was 5 to 7 also, and he was 7:29. So we're allowed 30 seconds under, 30 seconds over, so he made it by 1 second. All right. Great, Steve. For table topics, Carol, I forgot to start the timer. I have no idea how long you took. It was about 2 minutes, a little over. And yeah, maybe 5 minutes. It seemed kind of long. Vicki, 40 seconds. And when people start doing table topics, you're usually a little under, and you get more windy the more you get up here. And that won't be a problem to extend that each time you come up here. Gwendolyn timed me at 1:31, so I was right within range. We were 1 to 2 minutes. And then for evaluations, Rick was, we have 2 to 3 minutes for evaluations. Rick was 3:33, so just a smidge over, but I wouldn't have wanted you to cut any of it short. Michelle was 2:40, right within range. And then the grammarian, Michelle was 2 minutes, 10 seconds. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Emily. I will now go into the general evaluator report, and I pay attention to everything that happened at the meeting. We started on time. We had everything set up and started on time. The banner, this shows that our club is growing and learning, our members. We only get ribbons on our banner saying that we did well when our members are learning and growing. This is the evidence that our members enjoy our meetings and they gain something from that. Rick's table topics, he had us rebounding quickly to think about the reply. You did a great job in picking the correct person to answer your questions. That was very good. And we learned more learning and growing from Gwendolyn's speech on climbing that mountain. And Rick, he wins a lot of evaluation contests. He does very well at giving his evaluations. And the thing I like about his evaluations is that he doesn't read the questions and go question by question on the evaluation in the back of the speech. He makes a little mini speech. And how he can do that, listening to the speech and writing a 3-minute speech at the end after that. If I don't jot things down, I forget by the time I get back to it. That's why I've got all my notes written here as I was doing it, because I wouldn't remember. But you did a really good job, and you may not have seen it from there, but the one thing you might have mentioned, when she had her cards, she would flip them here, and she'd flip them there, and she'd flip them there. I could see from here. You may not have been able to see that, but you didn't mention that. Slide them quietly and start sort of flipping them, because that drew my attention. That was the only thing that I picked up on that you might have told her, but you gave gentle help in things that she might have done better in doing the number 1, 2, 3, that you picked up on things that I missed. So that's one thing I like about evaluations, because they hear things that I didn't hear during the speech because I was listening for something else. And Steve's speech on hand washing gave us a lot of food for thought, especially about the paperclip. And one of the things, when I was on the cruise to Alaska, we were forced to wash our hands. They stood at the doorway to the buffet dining room, and I don't know, they sang something like wishy-washy, wishy-washy, wash your hands or something like that, and you had to do that if you wanted to get in. And one of the things, I'm a person who's washing my hands all day long. I don't like, if I take a walk and they're kind of sweaty and that, when I come back before I do the rest of my training with my personal trainer, I have to wash my hands because I can't stand that yucky feel. And I always teach people, there's 3 things a paper towel can do. It can dry your hands, it can wipe off the counter and make it nice so that when I belly up to the sink, I always have get all that water there because people didn't wipe that out. So you can wipe that, and then you can throw it in the trash can and keep it nice and push the towels down and keep it nice for the next person coming in. So I always give a little speech on that. So I'm going to use it to shut off the water. And use it to shut off the water. And my niece, she will not touch anything there, and she uses it to, and then she reaches back and throws it in the can. She holds it with her. So those are great things that was a very important speech. I like that we can avoid disease by being diligent and how often we wash our hands throughout the day, and avoid. What I liked was that you pointed out it helps to avoid disease, spreading disease to others. I really like that. The evaluation of Michelle, your enthusiasm in how you like her speech, and you brought up points that I missed, as I said, that during the speech. As a vice president of education, sending out the agenda on Thursday, the members say, well, I'll sign up online. I'm not going to sign the sign-up sheet here in the meeting. I'll just do it online. And I go online and nothing is there. So I am a benevolent dictator, vice president of education, and I assign you, and you still have the opportunity to not choose to do that, but most people will do what I assign them.
Strongly encouraged.
Yes. And I asked them, please go in and put the title of your speech in what manual so we know what to look for, and they don't. And so sometimes I make up, and I did that one time, and the guy used it 5 times throughout his speech like it was part of his speech, so that was really great. Let's see. And Michelle, your grammarian report, you gave a detailed report that showed how well you listen. And Emily, don't put yourself down as timer, because you did a good job in spite of forgetting to turn on the timer one time. You were listening intently, and you gave a very good report. So you can do that, and you did really well. That is my grammarian, my general evaluator report, and I'll return to the Toastmaster. Gwendolyn.
Thank you.
Great job.
Thank you, Carol, for that. What a fun meeting. Thank you, everyone, for your participation. As you can see, we are a fun club, we are supportive, and we are encouraging each other to grow every meeting. I am going to go ahead and turn the meeting over to our club president, who will end the meeting for us. Michelle Lewis.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster. Let's give Gwendolyn a round of applause. She did a great job. You had to introduce yourself for your speech, and that's always a little bit of a challenge, but you multitasked today, and we really appreciate that. So thank you, Larissa, for joining today. Thank you, Vicki, for joining our club. Thank you for looking in at home to those in the audience. And we ask that you come check us out. Join us at a meeting, see if Toastmasters might be right for you. You can find out more about our club on www.tbtoastmasters.com. And this concludes our March 19th meeting of Club 9523.